I showed my mentor and she said, "Oh, Claire." And I just thought that was so weird that she knew this woman, this one woman who does this amazing things. I said, I want to be her. And I've made so many friends in this process of following my dreams, and it wouldn't be possible without them. Cliche, follow your dreams, but create time for it. It's well worth it.
Since writing a book report on Libby Riddles, the first woman to win the Iditarod sled dog race, Dr. Charlotte Talbert has dreamed to be a veterinarian for these amazing dogs. North Carolina raised, Charlotte is a 2020 graduate from Lincoln Memorial College of Veterinary Medicine in Tennessee and is now in a rehabilitation and sports medicine residency in Minnesota. We talk about her experience working with amazing sled dogs before veterinary school and her research with other athletic dogs, such as the sport skijoring. Yep, I had to Google that one. What I found most special about Charlotte is her modesty. Like most of us, she has had to fight a lack of self-confidence to fight towards her dreams. Here's Dr. Charlotte Talbert. We are not just veterinarians, we are very cool in all aspects of ourselves. And I saw that you are a triplet. So I'm really interested to hear your experience being a triplet.
Yeah, so it's really great. Just being born a triplet, I was born with my best friends. I do have a triplet brother and triplet sister. And then we also have an older sister who is just as fantastic. So we were born into a really close-knit family.
That is wonderful. Now, I'm curious, what do they do now? Any other animal
So
people?
I could talk about my siblings all day. So my triplet sister, fantastic. She is an optometrist, and she's actually now pregnant with their second child. So, and they just found out this past weekend that it's a girl. So I'll be an aunt to two little girls now, and that's really great. My triplet brother, he is a project manager for a construction company, really good at his job, really passionate about it. And my older sister does all sorts of things. She is a wine connoisseur. She sells wine products, and also is now kind of working in the at like a spa field. Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow. That sounds
Yeah.
fabulous. Now, so it sounds like you're the main animal person. And did you know at a young age that you were interested in potentially getting into some type of animal career?
I did. As a kid, such a weirdo. When we played house, I always wanted to be the dog for some reason. I still to this day get made fun of by my best friends and my sisters. But yeah, that was me. And what really got me passionate when I really knew that I was passionate about veterinary medicine was when I was in 5th grade. I did a project on Libby Riddles, a really famous female musher of the Iditarod, and I was so passionate about those dogs, and then just passionate about the Iditarod and what these dogs can really do. Running 1,000 miles seems ridiculous, but these dogs do it with a relative ease.
Enthusiasm too. It is
Yeah.
really exciting to watch. Even like before races, just these dogs are so focused and excited to do what they do. So you knew pretty young that you were interested in animals, but also in like the Iditarod and these working dogs. So what did you went to college and got your degree in biology? Was that all to kind of try to prep for vet school?
It was, and it was also to create my plan B. I think now that I'm in the field, and even though I'm a new vet, I now know why my mentors said, always have your plan B. And that was it. I wanted to figure out what I could do if I didn't get accepted, just because vet school is really challenging to get into. It's a competitive field to to get into vet school, but then not so competitive after, because everyone's looking for veterinarians these days. So I did a biology degree in undergraduate. And then right outside of undergraduate, I didn't feel comfortable applying to vet school, as I just didn't feel like I had a competitive application. So it's really difficult to get in on your first time, and that was what I decided to do. So I went on to grad school, where I got a master's in biology. And then after I went to grad school, I did take a year off, and not a lot of people do that, but I wanted to get some experience, and I also wanted to work on myself and see what it was like to not be in school. Because at that point, I'd probably been in school for 24, 26 straight years. So it was a breath of fresh air. And then during that time off, that's when I went and spent my first year that I had gone up to see the dogs of Iditarod and work with them.
Yeah. So I'm going to back up just a little bit because I'm always curious. What was your backup plan?
My backup plan, I feel like it was always going to be teaching. As a graduate assistant, I did have the privilege of teaching, and I taught primarily first year students going into their, I guess, initial biology course. And it was just fascinating to be able to work with that many students. And funny story, I was just in last year, one of my best friend's weddings, and the girl one of the two hairdressers that came to do all of our hair was one of my students. And it was just in the, kind of middle of nowhere, Virginia. And she was one of my students and recognized me. So that was kind of a little uplifting that she remembered me and I made such an impression.
Yeah, no.
It was teaching.
Yeah, that I think that is one of the blessings of teaching is just you really get an impact on people's lives. So,
Yeah.
yeah. All right. So, I saw that you did the Iditarod, or you got to work one of the Iditarod races before you even went to vet school. So, how did that opportunity come to you?
Really interesting story. I just smile whenever I think of it, because I've made so many friends in this process of following my dreams, and it wouldn't be possible without them. But yeah, one day during that year off that I was taking off between grad school and trying to apply to vet school, my dad found this article that was written about one of our local veterinarians that had gone up to work the Iditarod. And I just thought that was so fascinating. He brought that to me because he knew that I loved the race. And I brought it to work to show my mentor. And I just remember this whole moment. I showed my mentor and she said, "Oh, Claire." And I just thought that was so weird that she knew this woman, this one woman who does this amazing things. I said, "I want to be her." And that next day, my mentor had brought her in to talk to me, and she showed me all of her pictures about of her time at Iditarod, and taught me all about sled dog medicine. And it was so fascinating. I set my mind on how do I get there, and I went. It was a really great time.
So, is Claire the one that took you to the next race?
She was the one that introduced me to how I can apply. So at that time, she was a veterinarian. She is a veterinarian still, but I was neither. I was not a veterinary technician. I was not a veterinarian. I was a veterinary assistant, right? Because as a technician, we have to take extra knowledge courses, go to further school to be able to do so. And it's a well-respected field and degree that our certified vet techs can get. And so at that time, I did volunteer as a veterinary assistant. And I went up there to be that sort of help. And then now, kind of interesting fact, I still have this passion for these dogs, and I've gone on trail and worked with them, but I still don't have that degree as a technician. And then with interesting fact with with Iditarod is you have to be a vet for 5 years minimum to be able to be a vet on trail. So I actually have worked with them, but I haven't been able to be their vet yet.
Oh, wow. I know we're not quite there yet, but is that a goal to eventually get to be one of the veterinarians on trail during the race?
It is. It is. I would be really happy continuing with working with the friends I've made with the ECG team. So the team that of technicians and assistants that go around and do the ECGs on the dogs prior to the race. So my passion is just being around them. Going up and being a spectator too would be fantastic.
I know it is on my bucket list. I'm not a cold weather person, but the one time I would sign up to be sent to a frozen tundra would be just to watch or
Oh
just
yeah.
see these dogs with their energy. So yeah, please share what were some of the best moments of getting to work with these dogs and their mushers?
The best moments, most certainly being able to witness the human animal bond. We say that a lot in vet med, but what that is, I mean, it's just remarkable what these guys have. And uh, mushers, what they have with their dogs, they just have this recognition that they let them run and they're going to do this as a team. The mushers, female, male, no matter what, they're just a team and they're going to take care of their dogs and let them do what they want to do, keep them fit and keep them healthy enough to be able to continue doing what they want to do with comfort. And so just observing that human animal bond is just amazing. And of course, you know, the greatest thing is when they get lined up and they know that they're about to go, they get so amped. I mean, these dogs are barking and then they're next to another team. You can go into a lineup of all these teams and they're just barking away with just such eagerness to keep going.
Oh man, I wish I had even an iota of that kind of energy, don't you?
Oh yeah.
um,
Absolutely. Especially on a Monday and Friday, you know.
right. Oh, it sounds so exciting. I'm really also curious about, I mean, when you think about in the animal world, this is like our Olympic athletes. And even with our Olympic athletes, they have full teams who are working with them, getting ready for these types of races. So what does a team look like for these sled dogs? I'm sure there's like medical teams and all sorts of things, but can you kind of describe some of the humans that are that make this possible?
Oh yeah. Well, you've got to always start with the team at home. It's not just the mushers, it's their spouses, it's the dog handlers that they have, and a lot of what, and I don't pretend to know all of it, but the information I do know is that a lot of dog handlers will volunteer with mushers and take care of their dogs and helping take care of their dogs and feeding and helping train. And a lot of those are potential mushers or people like me that just want to witness these dogs and be around them and have something fun to do for a summer or full time. So that's the team at home. It does take quite a bit to take care of the dogs, depending on how large their team is as well. So that can vary. But as far as people that put on races, it's going to vary with the race too. Something like Iditarod, it just takes a ginormous amount of effort with you have, like I've talked about, the ECG team, so people that are in charge of the technicians and scheduling alone. There's so much more that goes into it than we'll ever know. And then one that a head veterinarian that's in charge of hiring and scheduling all the veterinarians, making sure they all know where to be on trail and how to get there. So we have air transport and communications folks, which there are tons of people that do that and that are fantastic at their job. And yeah, just so many other dog handler volunteers that are doing a fantastic job every year taking care of the dogs that are on trail that for some reason aren't continuing on the trail.
Mm. Now,
Yeah.
you were describing the beginning of the race, but kind of like through the race and towards the end, were you able to kind of see or at least hear some of the challenges that they were having along? So your audience here is a bunch of medical vet nerds. So
Yeah.
what were some of the things that you found interesting, kind of like having to experience during the race?
Oh, the most challenging thing. So I've only been on trail 1 year, and I was an assistant on trail, and I went to McGrath. It's a big hub of where we get a lot of dogs if they're what the term is dropped. So if they're not going to continue in the race, they're dropped and then transported to the closest hub. And um, it was really cold. So when we first landed down there were like 7 or 8 feet of snow, and that's not the case in all of Alaska, right? Where the race starts, it's often a challenge of no snow, and they'll bring in some snow in Anchorage from other locations. But we had 7 or 8 feet of snow in McGrath, and so that was a big challenge. Me from North Carolina, where we get a whisper of snow each year, maybe, to touching down with that. But we just had to shovel a bunch of that. And then, a huge challenge that I faced was I had met some friends at my previous years going up there and visiting, and they did teach me how to layer and wear clothes appropriately, but you can't necessarily do a physical exam on a dog with gloves on. And we were out we were out there in like -30 one day,
Oh,
and what I'm here, a rookie on trail, and I'm with some of these fantastic vets and vet techs, and they've done this before, and they're whipping their hands out, writing with pencils because our pens will freeze out there, so they have pencils, and I do that, and my hands are just like frozen. That I don't. It hurts. It's to the point where it hurts when I don't quite not feel them yet. So that was a huge challenge of like understanding frostbite and how to take care of myself. Um, and then really witnessing that I'm over here freezing, and this dog next to me is so used to this and happy that they're diving in the snow and -30 and eating the snow, and some just sleeping with the snow on top of them. So yeah,
oh.
that it's a challenge, and then also really rewarding to see that it doesn't bother many people.
Yeah. So, what were some of the challenges that you saw with the dogs? I mean, man, I'm impressed that they weren't bothered by 8 feet of snow, but any health problems that you got to kind of see and help with?
Yeah. So we did, for kind of going back for the excessive snow that we had, we did shovel all of that out. So we make kind of our own dog yard for the dogs there. So they're not ever sitting in that deep snow. But if it snows overnight, then it'll kind of come down and they'll walk around and pack it around their bundles of straw. But it yeah, it varies. I guess the most common challenges with the dogs that are seen is what terrain they're running on, right? We
Mm.
can't predict human nature if there's going to be a lot of snow that year. And I guess hearing all the mushers stories, traveling through storms can be quite challenging. Not just because you have whiteouts, but wind is a really big challenge, making sure you stay on trail. So that's something that I've heard just talking with people. But as far as injuries go, it's variable on trail as well. So if you're first in line, you may be ones that are breaking snow. Uh, so that's going to be causing a lot more increase in range of motion, trying to get your shoulders out. And that's one thing we've seen through research. Diplomats of sports medicine and rehabilitation have noted that sled dogs in general um, have it changes in their shoulder joints due to this, but we don't know why. We just know that that's something that we've seen, and a lot of dogs that even have those changes are noted to not be painful on that. So we know that they use their shoulder joints to run through snow, and that's one thing that's different. But then if you're in the back and they're running on this hard packed snow, we can see some kind of toe pain, and that can be an issue. But there's other things that sled dogs are also predisposed to that, is a really big part of the veterinary training prior to vets going on trail, is understanding that they can get pneumonia just by running that long, running in cold weather. That's something, if we just are taught as veterinarians to be able to look for, and going up and taking the pre-Iditarod courses for the vets to learn about sled dog medicine. They're taught how to look really early for those signs.
Yeah. Who teaches or provides those courses for the veterinarians?
The head veterinarian is
Okay.
primarily in charge of that. So there's a head vet for Iditarod, and they'll teach those courses. And there's also some really experienced veterinarians that have done this for several years, and they'll go up there and be of great assistance to newbies.
Oh, that's nice. It sounds like
Yeah,
there's a good support system as well.
there's a fantastic support system. Absolutely. It's a field, if you're interested. The majority of people like myself, I don't pretend to be an expert. I'm just a really big fan, and I will talk about what I know, and I'll talk about things I want to know. And it's really great because you get to know all these people that have some answers to your questions, and just want to do the same thing, tell you what they know. And it's a really great team.
I know, again, the article I saw that you were describing your experience was a 2016 article, which, if I got all my math right, that was actually the year you started vet school. Is that correct?
That is,
Yeah.
yes, it was that year off. And I had actually, fun story, it was one of the days we were out in Fairbanks, and I got this email, and I was like, where is this email from? And I opened it because we were sitting on lunch break, and I had just gotten into vet school. And I remember that I had made so many great friends that time I was there, and they were all so excited, and we just had a great day celebrating after that.
What a awesome place and way to find out that you're going to vet school. And
Yeah.
it's funny that you were saying that, you didn't think you're competitive and how hard it is to get in on the first try. But one of the articles I found when I was Googling you was that, Charlotte girl gets into vet school on the first try or something like that. So
Oh,
it was actually, hearing you that makes that article even more special. And
oh yeah.
yeah, so you went to Lincoln Memorial in Tennessee, and this is a newer vet school. So I searched, and
It
they
is, yeah.
they opened, or they had their first class in 2014. So you were the third class to start this newer vet school. So I'm curious, how was your experience at Lincoln Memorial?
Fantastic. So what why that is, there's so many reasons, because just their program in general, the people they have teaching, it's fantastic. And I've met, someone that is just near and dear to me, a mentor of me, while I was there, that's led me through this process of now being a sports medicine and rehab resident. So a lot of things happened that were really, really good there. I also met my now husband at LMU. So that is just, I just had a huge takeaway from there in many ways. And what was fantastic about LMU is that, it is considered a private school, and we don't have a teaching hospital. So there's so many other things that people may focus on. But what's really great is that when you're there, all you have to focus on is vet school. And then everyone there is just so dedicated to making you the best vet coming out of school as possible. So giving that practice experience within our curriculum, the hands-on, physical, practical skills, and then also communication skills, which is something I really took away from LMU, knowing how to talk to people and I don't feel like that's a strong thing that most people graduate from vet school feeling they have.
No, that's a lot of what a lot of conversations are about, right? Is trying to implement more communication training in vet school. So I'm glad to hear that you feel like they really prepared you in that very important part of being in veterinary medicine. So now,
Yeah.
I think actually the one way I met you was through Russ Kelly, who does a lot of research and sporting and working dogs. So did you do any types of projects or research during vet school as well?
I did not. Uh, I did actually get pretty involved in vet school, and that's how I met Russ Kelly and the amazing people that work with Royal Canin. I was their student ambassador during vet school. So I during my first and second year there, or between my first and second year, over summer we didn't have a lot of things to do for veterinary medicine or for veterinary medicine. So they always said, don't do something with vet school, take some time off. And I did take some time off, and I babysat, but I didn't do a whole lot. And I was kind of bored. I gardened every day, which I love doing. But my next summer I said, I'm going to do something. And I reached out to Royal Canin and worked out kind of an externship to do that summer. And I went up to their pet health nutrition center, and that was just a fantastic experience. It's where I met Russ Kelly and Jill Klein and a lot of other people that have just played a huge role in the success of the pet health nutrition center, and the research that goes into working dogs. Is they do a lot trying to find the most helpful and successful diet that those dogs can eat.
Yeah, no, I love talking to Russ Kelly too, because
Yeah.
he has so much wisdom and experience with these dogs that unlike a lot of other people. So, and he's so passionate about it. I mean, you can't help but get excited just watching him loving to talk about it. So I'm glad you got that experience. You're continuing to build your little, group of advisors along your way to encourage you to and find maybe different ways that you may go down your career path. So I'm really excited for you that. So you got through vet school, and it sounds like you're in a residency program now. So tell us a little bit about that journey, getting into residency, why you chose that route, and how your residency is going.
Oh gosh. Well, I struck gold with my residency. So with LMU, since we don't have a veterinary teaching center, a hospital, we have our whole fourth year set up to where we're traveling every 4 years, and we get to make that schedule doing different rotations. So when you have a teaching hospital, you guys know you're doing radiology, then you're doing emergency, and we do the same thing. We just travel to different places to do it and learn from different people that are out in the working field outside of academia, which is really rewarding, kind of getting that experience before you're out in the field, of getting the experience of field medicine. So that is how I kind of got to my residency. As one of my rotations. I had talked to my mentor at LMU, and she, as a diplomat of sports medicine and rehab, had reached out to another that she knows, who's now my mentor here, and the diplomat at the practice I'm a residency for. So I did a 4-week rotation here, and we just meshed. We got along really well, and she asked, what do you want to do? I said, well, I think I want to do a residency, but I don't know if I'm good enough. And which we all ask ourselves, we're never good enough for anything. But she said, well, do you want to be my resident? And I said, who, me? And so we just always kind of crack up about that I didn't believe her. She was playing a joke, but yeah, I got offered a residency. And there, as you guys know, with any with the majority of our diplomat, with our residency programs, you have to do an internship prior to. So I did do that. I set that up. And my husband and I lived in Kentucky for a year doing both of our internships. And now we're in Minnesota enjoying the nice warm weather.
Was that sarcastic or because
A little
okay.
sarcastic.
I was like,
Yeah,
I
it
just
was like
talked to
50
somebody in
degrees.
Minnesota yesterday and they said it was snowing. So
Yeah. Well, it's been in the 40s and 50s, so it's been really great weather. And then I looked out yesterday and there's snow on the ground, and it's still snowing this morning, which I love this, but my husband, as an equine vet, it's sometimes a little challenging.
Oh, wow. Tell us about some of the things you get to do as a sports medicine resident.
Oh, so many. It's such a new field. The college was really established most recently. It's one of the most recent colleges. But here, it'll vary wherever a resident is. If they're at a specialty center where there's a lot of other specialties around, or a standalone rehab practice like we are, and it just varies what kind of clientele you see sometimes in some ways, but kind of what we do here, it's really fascinating to see that not all orthopedic disease is a CCL.
Yeah.
Not, what do you do with bilateral sciatic pain and you think it's a CCL, and then lower back pain, knowing that you look at the hips, which you don't get taught that in vet school, and it's fascinating. So a lot of really novel techniques of diagnostic things that I've learned just through physical exam. And then here I get the benefit of learning from Dr. Julia Tomlinson herself, diagnostic ultrasound. And that's a really great way to learn to diagnose different injuries to muscles, tendons, ligaments, looking inside the joint to look at the meniscus. So, slowly but surely learning more and more each time we get to do it.
Yeah. So what kind of dogs do you work with? Because you're right. I think the majority of veterinarians, if they see an orthopedic issue, it is a a cruciate tear or those kinds of things, because we have overweight dogs, right?
Yeah.
But what kind of dogs are you getting to work with?
Now we do see a lot of cruciates, and we do see a lot pre-op or just medical management or post-op. So there's a lot of local surgeons around that see the benefit in rehab and refer to us. So we have really great relationships there. But then, we also see other injuries like Achilles dogs, and it's just a list of so many really interesting things. As far as kind of full disclosure, as a new resident, what is kind of set up for me is that some of these really difficult cases are more or less triage. So when I first started, I saw a lot of knee dogs. And then as I get more comfortable with my exam, we've gone into a lot more in detailed exams. So having dogs that have bilateral carpal hyperextension, those are really interesting. Try not to go into too much of the personal details of the patients, but
Right.
seeing carpal injuries is really interesting as well.
Yeah. Do you also get a lot of sporting working dogs coming through?
We do, and that's really one thing that's great about our practice is we do a really great job at just speaking with multiple people that do have sporting dogs, and then a lot of it is word of mouth, that they really enjoy the treatment that they get here with their dogs. So a lot of those will return, but there's agility dogs that come here, fantastic agility dogs, flyball, rally. We have a ton of field trial dogs. There is one sled dog that comes here, and let me think.
What was the sport you sent me?
Oh, yeah. I can't believe I didn't even mention that because I thought we were going to talk about it later, but skijor. So we
Yes.
do see some skijoring dogs. And as a resident, we have to do a research project. We are considered first author. So we write up the paper. It gets first it has to get approved, and then, which is the long process, and then it gets published. So that's one of the requirements to become a boarded diplomat. But my research project is actually on a team of skijoring dogs, of fantastic ones here in Minnesota.
So you'll have to describe, because I don't think I'm the only person who had to Google skijoring. So describe the support and maybe a little bit more about the what specifically you're researching.
Yep. So with skijor, it is it's a one skier sport, and then they can have one or two dogs. There's many people will have their different opinions on whether they want to run with one dog or two dogs, and then some competitions that they do may require a certain amount of dogs, or if they don't, then somebody next to you is running two and you're only running one. That may make your decision different. But yeah, they hook them up. They have different hookups that you can use, but essentially it goes around your waist, some kind of like a climbing harness, and through your legs, and you can hook your dog up to it. And as long as they want to pull, you keep skiing. And it's just a good sport to kind of, get your dog out and running, and a bonding experience. It is fantastic. I mean, similar to watching the sled dogs go, these guys are the same. And the ones that we work with my research project actually do pull the sled on many days of the week and skijor some of the days. So it's kind of alternating, but really ultimately a pulling sport.
Yeah. Since I don't know how to ski, and my dog I would not trust attaching to myself. I'm sure there's definitely some bonding in that, and some trust and all sorts of things. So yeah, I think that's one thing I really respect and admire about sporting and working dogs. Again, going back to the human animal bond, and not just a bond, but a trust, and just like, I just think it's fascinating. And what is your research specifically on in this particular sport?
Yeah, so what we want to know, there's a lot of research out there that has been done with larger, sled dog teams, dogs that are running the Iditarod or Yukon Quest, another 1,000-mile race. So we want to kind of feed off some of those research papers, that particularly the one focusing on maybe some of these sled dogs have predisposed issues in their shoulder. So what we've done is we want to know, right? We know what certain muscles do when the dogs are walking. We've seen agility research projects of knowing what they do when they're going up and down an A-frame, where they're what their muscles are doing. So what we wanted to do was use AMG, acoustic myography, to be able to tell the difference of what our biceps and triceps in these dogs are doing when they're running at a sprint versus running, pulling at a sprint. So that's one thing that we've wanted to see is there different recruitment of these muscles that you may predispose them to injury. So if we know that, we may potentially be able to come up with an understanding of how to best treat or prevent injuries in these dogs. It shows possibly promising information.
Yeah. Well, we're getting a little short on time. What advice or thoughts would you like to share with other people in our profession? Just maybe some learnings along your vet life journey. What would you want to say to encourage our profession?
Oh, so that's funny to be asked. Such a, I know we don't say this, but a baby vet. So I guess what I've always been taught and kind of how I follow it is really, if you want to know an answer, go find it. And I think we all do that. That's why we're here. That's, while we drive ourselves crazy in this non-average profession, because every day is different. But yeah, if you want to do something, if you want to get involved, and there's many ways you can do it. If we always say we don't have time, but utilizing the time you may have, or creating some time to go up and volunteer with the Iditarod, you can do it. Everyone up there's some people that have not done physical exams in a while. They're in the lab or something, and they're going out on trail, and just with purposeful sled dog training that you get prior to, you can do it. So I guess cliche, follow your dreams, but create time for it. It's well worth it.
Well, you say you feel like a baby vet, and I'm a couple years ahead of you in the veterinary training, and I still feel like a baby vet.
Yeah.
But I think the important thing is, no matter where you are, you have value and a perspective that is important, and you can encourage people no matter where you are. So thank you for sharing that. I agree. Sometimes it does take a little proactivity but it is absolutely possible to start creating the career that you really, really love. So, all right. So we always end with some rapid fire questions. So first
Uh-oh.
question. Yeah, you didn't realize you thought you were done with tests. First question is, what is something on your bucket list?
Oh, I would like to run a dog team.
Oh,
I would safely, and I've done a 1 mile before, but I'd like to go a few miles, maybe like a camping trip. And so, long time future plan bucket list.
yeah. Well, that just means I get to call you up in a few years, and we'll make sure you're on track to do that. So,
Yeah.
oh, that's cool. What is a simple moment that brings you joy?
Oh, I don't get a lot of time by myself. So if I get to sit outside and just be with my dog, I do some bike joring. So doing that with my beautiful English setter Kevin, that's a good moment, just to be kind of by myself.
You do have some really beautiful dogs. I saw the picture behind your head. I
Oh
saw
yeah,
mine too.
that's
Yes.
Kevin.
Oh, they're amazing. All right. If you could create a law that everyone had to follow, what would your law be?
Oh no. Oh, be kind. I think it's so variable, but I think what holds us back a lot, and particularly myself, is the fear of what others may think. So being kind and productive and in your thoughts, it can get us all a little farther in life.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
And lastly, what are you most grateful for?
My family, my triplets, my husband, my mom and dad. Yeah, absolutely, my family.
Oh, I think that's a beautiful way to end. Thank you so much,
Yeah.
Charlotte. This has been the Vet Life Reimagined podcast. Whether you are listening or watching on YouTube, I hope you enjoyed this conversation. Please make sure you are subscribed to catch all these amazing people in our profession. Also, send this episode to someone you think who would appreciate it. Have a recommendation for someone who would be a good guest? Please reach out on LinkedIn, Instagram, or Facebook. There aren't that many Dr. Sprinkles. Until next time, Vet Lifers.